everybody. It's great to be with you. I'm Steve Clemens with Semaphore. We're going to have a great discussion. They're giving us like 12 minutes, lightning round, find out all the cool things. Let me tell you, he's a geologist. That's the coolest thing. The next coolest thing is he's a brew pub guy, happened to become mayor, then governor of Colorado, and of course now senator. And he is obsessed with space, aerospace, FAA. So why don't we just get into it, Senator? Great to have you here. Let's just start. A lot of folks in this room want to know what's going to happen at the end of this month. And let's frame it differently, like what's going to go on with FAA reauthorization. What if the FAA doesn't get reauthorized? What happens?
The world ends.
And do people know that?
The Democrats do.
Okay.
No, I think we'll have some sort of continuing resolution that will tide us over. I don't think the world's going to end. I think we'll keep moving forward. But this is a good time to use that cliff theory to try and resolve some of the conflicts and find compromises and actually do something lasting.
Cliff theory means don't go over the cliff?
Yes.
Without FAA reauthorization when you can fly, right? There we go. Okay. Well, let's get into something that you've been, Colorado has a lot of space and aerospace assets, national security assets. But during the last presidential administration, a decision was made to move the Space Command to Alabama. That is now being reversed. A lot of whiplash in there. When you see Senator Tuberville, do you feel happy? I mean, tell us about how that whole space mission is going for the state.
No, I take no pleasure in the disappointment that the people in Alabama feel. Space Command is, for Colorado, we've got Northern Command, NORAD, we've got so much intelligence, a lot of cybersecurity horsepower there. It really made all the sense in the world to put Space Command where it had always been in Colorado Springs. And all three, the three top generals in the Air Force all agreed vehemently that that's where it should be. It was the first time that a president for his own political purposes, had overruled the advice of his generals.
How did Alabama beat you the first time before they lost?
I think again, it's unclear on that. Certainly what we know is that President Trump, when he was at the airport and during 2019 and 2020, two different occasions, met with Mayor Suthers and said, well, how am I doing my election? Oh, it doesn't look so good. Well, maybe we'll put off.
Mayor Suthers is Denver, Colorado Springs?
Colorado Springs.
Oh, Colorado Springs.
And a Republican, former Attorney General of the state of Colorado, a man of unmeasurable integrity. And basically, he was told that, let's wait until after the election so you guys get to work and make sure that I win the election in Colorado, then you can keep Space Command. And that's a political motive that we've never had. It would have set a terrible, terrible precedent. Not to mention, the real issue is national security. And the function is, when do we, a year after Trump made that decision, suddenly Russia invades Ukraine. Our assets in space are vulnerable. We know that. We know that China has tested and proven that they can shoot down satellites. So we're going to, as we approach very rapidly, finally getting to full operational capability, we see that now maybe we're going to move it. And there are 1,400 total employees, 800 civilian employees. We know from moving other commands that a large percentage, like 80 or 90% of the civilians aren't going to move to another state. This has nothing to do with Alabama or Colorado specifically. They just don't want to move large distances when they've got families and roots in a community. So here we are getting to full operational capability, to readiness.
So let me ask you a question about readiness, and also, look, I walked around this wonderful summit and seen many of the firms here, and a lot of the concerns they have are about the human dimension, skills, workforce, labor, is one element of it. The other side is, what's the national security strategy in which many of them fit? How do these things come together? And as you look at that ecosystem of science and national aspirations, state aspirations, I want you to put on your governor hat. What did Colorado do in short form to position itself as an ongoing hotbed of the kind of things you need for a smart science and national security science ecosystem?
Well, we went to and this is right when I first got elected governor back in 2010, but we did a bottom-up economic development plan, went to every county, got the whole state signed on to a business plan that we were going to make the state one of the top states in the country, getting rid of government red tape, making us more efficient, but also creating a STEM workforce that was going to be second to none. And it wasn't just STEM, but that was the real focus. So we wanted to make sure that we were going to have the top talent. And if we could attract those young people to our community, the jobs would follow, they'd stay. Eventually, when they start marrying each other, their parents will come to visit the grandchildren, then the parents will stay. It was a business plan that, to a large extent, has come true.
We were talking in the green room about AI and space, and AI is the theme that's dominating so much. There are AI hearings going on. Elon Musk and others that are, on different dimensions of that debate. You see AI and space as a game changer. Tell us what you mean.
Well, I think that what people haven't appreciated, and I would spend a couple hours over looking at, 25 different experts on AI, from leaders of various labor unions to the big four. All these CEOs. Elon Musk was there, Alex Karp from Palantir. They're all there. Each one has 3 minutes, and each one's giving their pitch on what's going on. And part of what I heard, what I saw, is that we're going to be able to train the workforce of the future in ways that we've never really imagined. We're going to be able to go into disadvantaged communities, and with artificial intelligence, we're going to be able to do education in ways we've never known before. What you really need is you need math, you need to read, you need to write. And those three components can be addressed very early on, and trying to make a level playing field, giving each kid who's interested in space the tools so that they can actually learn what they need to learn so that they can have a career in space. Because trust me, and I know this from my own son at home, almost every kid is attracted to space. And our problem has been that we haven't been able to give them a comfort with math and science when they're in the 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. We haven't let their curiosity kind of run loose and be rewarded. And I think AI is going to give us a lot of that freedom and make sure that the teaching can rise to the occasion of what our workforce is going to demand.
Do you worry in the long run that in a country like China, where you're sort of assigned to a school and told to do something, and you do, does the fluffiness of choice diminish our chances of winning the AI race?
The fluffiness of choice, I'm going to save that for just a moment. I would argue that the one thing that defines the differences between China and the United States is that collaborative capability that comes from that fluffiness. And I tried a few experiments when I was first one I did was mayor, but really several times when I was governor. I'd get a great new idea, I'd sit on it like a hen on an egg, and I'd just go through it and try and predict all the unintended consequences that could happen. How could I make it better? This great idea, how do I make it? So when I finally share it with my team, they'll be impressed. And it's kind of almost like a game. So I work on this thing for a couple, 3-4 weeks. And then I'd have a senior staff meeting, 10 or 12 people in the room, and I'd say, and here's something we should consider. What about this? And I'd lay out my grand idea in 6 or 7 minutes. And every time, within 5 minutes, my idea was twice as good, 3 times as good. In other words, other people hearing what I thought and what I'd kind of come up with were looking at through their prism and saying, yeah, but what if you did this? And what if you did that? And they're seeing things that I never saw. The faster that happens, that's how creativity works. That's how innovation succeeds.
When I look behind us at a lot of the big sponsors of today's forum and yesterday's forum, we have international companies, transnational firms. They operate all over the world. And of course, Elon Musk's firms operate all over the world. Some of those firms were funded by US taxpayer dollars. He paid that money back in loans. I interviewed Elon Musk one time when he brought a check back to Stephen Chu at the Department of Energy. But lately, he's gotten in some controversy when he basically cut off access to the Ukrainians and using a global satellite network. Do you have any quick thoughts on at what point do privately created necessary infrastructure, particularly in the national security and space, have to have a public interest dimension? How do you get that equilibrium right in dealing with the sort of challenge we just saw unfold. And I just want to emphasize that I know that many of the firms here are trying to get that equilibrium right between working and cooperating, often being funded and having the governments as clients, and also having their private firms, there to make decisions on risk and reward on their own benefit. But I think it's one of the biggest issues today we're struggling with.
Well, and I couldn't agree with you more. One of the challenges of democracy has always been that line between our collective effort, the community, the commons, and individual striving, and that sense of entrepreneurship, of trying to get more for myself or for my family, my tribe. And it is a very fine line. One of the good things that in this, let's call it the present crop of entrepreneurial giants, someone like Elon Musk, what you see is what you get. He's not trying to hide or disassemble, at least in almost all occasions. He came out and said it. He said, oh, no, I thought that was wrong, and therefore I cut it off. Should he have that power? I think that's a legitimate question of how much authority over what is clearly, has become part of our national defense. Our satellite system, whether it's privately owned or owned by the U.S. government, but obviously to a large extent it is almost all privately owned, is that something that private industry can redirect if our country, the government of our country, is pointing it in a different direction? I think that's a question that needs to be debated.
Yes, no question. In our last 30 seconds is, I see India out there, China, the UAE, everybody's got probes and missions. Some are going back to the moon, some are going to Mars. Is the U.S. moving as fast as it needs to in space, given all the new competitors in space?
No, I think we've got to go faster. And the fact that we don't have the FAA, NASA doesn't have its new budget, we got to go. We got to go faster, no question.
Ladies and gentlemen, Senator John Hickenlooper, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Of course.